I live inside my own world of make-believe. Kids screaming in the cradles, profanities. I see the world through ice covered in ink and bleach. Cross out the ones who heard my cries and watched me weep. I love everything. Fire spreading all around my room. My world's so bright, it's hard to breathe, but that's alright. Hush. Take my eyes open to force reality. Why can't you just let me eat my weight in glee? I live inside my own world of make-believe. Kids screaming in their cradles, profanities. Some days I feel skinnier than all the other days. Sometimes I can't tell if my body belongs to me. I love everything. Fire spreading all around my room. My world's so bright, it's hard to breathe, but that's alright. Hush. consumption. Honesty is a one-way gate to hell. I wanna taste consumption. Breathe faster to waste oxygen. Hear the children sing aloud. It's music till the wick burns out. Just wanna be carefree lately.
Hey guys, welcome to Case by Case. That did not go as planned. I have way too many irons in the fire today. Yes, it's a change of scenery. I'm downstairs in my kitchen slash countertop bar, family room, whatever you want to call it. I have so many things going on, and I needed to be able to work and work elsewhere at the same time. Welcome, everybody. We have been diligently working on this episode for you guys, and it's going to probably run a whole nother course, just like the timeline did in the Delphi Vault. So welcome to episode 18 of the Delphi Vault. If you are new to this case, I'm going to have to refer you to go back to episode 1 of the Delphi Vault to get acclimated with all of the things that we've covered. We have covered rumors, we have covered the case, we have covered law enforcement and the different scenarios that were projected at the very beginning of this case. And episode 18 now is going to be transitioning into another element, a major element of the case in which the defense hung their hat on pre-trial, and once they were shot down during the third-party suspect hearing, the case kind of came to a screeching halt. So we have no idea what would have transpired if the elements of this theory would have been put forth in front of a jury. Hopefully during a retrial, we'll get to see how that plays out. Here, let me turn this off here. I'm going to bring Quester on, and just so you guys know, I have gone through every single channel of help that I can get on this YouTube StreamYard deal that I use. But my guests are in the green room. I can add them to the stage and you can hear them, but I can't bring them up front like I am. I don't know why. So I'm going to continue to figure out what's going on. I've updated my browser. I've gone through settings. So if anybody out there has any suggestions, please let me know. Even though Quester uses an avatar, it doesn't matter. He still needs to be on screen. Let me see here. Where did he go? He might have stepped out and came back in. He's going to have to come back in. So, Quester, pull yourself back in. In the meantime, I have always said quality over quantity in what we do here. And I get email after email about me doing more lives. I want to so badly, but I do work a full-time job and I am trying my best to make that happen. But every single breathing moment that I have outside of my big girl job, I'm working on this channel. And I would love to be able to cover more cases. I would love to be able to do more advocacy. So I'm pushing for that. And I have a lot of things in the works. I have some things that are going to be announced around the beginning of September. What did he, hold on a second. Let me see what he says. There he is. Quester?
Am I back in?
Yes, you're back in.
Phew. Sorry
What
about that.
happened? That's okay.
I don't know. The screen just suddenly threw you out and you were gone. I've been trying to get back in.
Oh, well, no, I've been here, but I'm not surprised. Everything's going bonkers today. I don't know why, but I think it's because I'm, pretending to be technically savvy and my computer's telling me, girl, slow down. You're not.
Mine's telling me I'm an idiot.
Oh no, well, no, that you are not. And I'm just going to let everybody know right now before we go into all of this today. Quester held out on me a great deal. So when we were talking, I just have to share this. So don't get mad at me, Quester. I had, we have spent probably 10 episodes of this series focusing on this freaking timeline that does not work for the state. And we've beat it to death. We've gone over it. We've adjusted it. And, it is what it is. However, I knew that we had to move on. And I, messaged Quester and I said, hey, okay, I think it's time for us to shift gears. We really, and when you get so involved and so invested in a portion of a case where you feel like you're really, really onto something, like the timeline, the Betsy Blair, the Fitbit, Daniel Pearson, the cars, it's hard to pull away from that. And all I can say is that I promised when I started this series that I would cover all aspects from the very beginning on. And that included the odorist theory in this case, the Frank's motion, the 136-page Frank's motion. And it is clear to me after watching Andrew Baldwin's current or most recent interviews, he's still hanging his hat on that. So I had messaged Quester and I said, we really need to transition over and go into the next phase of this case. Another area of persons of interest, another scenario of how this crime unfolded. And he didn't seem very excited. Were you not excited, Quester, that I asked you that?
Not incredibly impressed, no.
So then I kind of explained, like, look, this is a main part. This is a very significant meat on the bones part of the case that we have to dive into. And he said, okay. And then immediately dropped all his knowledge on me. You would have thought that he was a professor of Norse pagan religion because he knows everything. And between him and Great Lakes fungi, who all like I get no sleep, guys. I'm in the U.S. Great Lakes is in the U.S., but Quester is in the U.K. And my work schedule, but I'm talking our most productive hours is between my 1 a.m. until 5 a.m. in the morning. So I sacrifice all that for you guys. But Quester is a very knowledgeable person in this sort of religion, the Norse pagan gods, all of the different runes and meanings behind them. So you guys are in for a very special treat. And bear with us today because we're going to go slow. This is not a subject that we can just breeze through. Like always, we try to give you the most in-depth coverage of all of the things involving this case. And I'm going to have to tell you right now, disclaimer, these are our interpretations, our opinions, and we're going to veer in different directions on this because you can't help not to. Because this religion, the Norse pagan / neo white supremacist, the way they've conformed this to fit their beliefs is very custom. So we can't say exactly how they're thinking, what individual aspects of this religion that they've implied. So we're going to take what we can see, what we know. We're going to take the different aspects of the religion in various forms, and we're going to try to apply it. You better stop. We're going to try to apply it to this case the best that we can. So please don't think that we're telling you this is what we see and it's factual. That's not the case. It's all interpretation. We're just going to try to bring all of the elements of the crime scene, the religion, the ceremonial religious aspect, the calling of the gods, Odin, and how all of this plays out. And we're also going to incorporate not only Dr. Hermuddle and her indications of what is required to prove that there was a religious aspect or sacrificial aspect to this case. Perlmutter did a very fantastic job of describing it on direct examination when the defense was questioning her. I do have some emotions about when Nick McClelland questioned her. I'm going to get into that. But in the meantime, please, guys, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, share the video. And I'm going to let Quester say a few words here quickly. Not quickly. You have all the time that you need. Your perception of where this type of element of this crime, how it weighs with what the defense put forth in the Franks motion, and how, like, literally, how significant do you think it is to the case?
Very hard question to answer. It's where to start. If you buy the Odinist theory, which I'll say, hello, have you gone?
No, I'm here. No, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Hello? You're back. Yeah. Sorry about that. If you buy the Odinist theory, which I do have some issues with, then yeah, there's an awful lot of flags there that will support that theory, an awful lot. If you don't buy buy the theory, then you've got an awful lot of questions that need answering. Hello, have you gone again?
No, I'm still here. Can you hear me?
I can hear, yes. So the
Okay.
picture froze. Right.
No, I just took myself off the big screen.
Right. The reason I'm saying it's an awkward question is because if it was Odinist, then it was performed by somebody who's not incredibly au fait with Odinism and its rituals and so on. Yeah.
Yes, and I mean, I will be completely honest. I started researching all of this a long time ago when the Franks motion came out. And in fact, I went immediately to Brad Holder's Facebook page and just started screenshotting. Because I figured that the second that he found out that his name was out there, he was going to, make his page private or shut it down. So, but then, like everything else in this case, we veered down different paths, so I got away from it. But this aspect of the case is very intriguing to me. It's very interesting, but there's so much to learn. And the second that you feel like you have a little bit of a grip of understanding, you throw in another element. I mean, you've got Asatru. That's why I have these 3 symbols up here on the screen right now. You have Asatru, Norse pagan, heathen, and they all are intertwined, but they're also all separate. So and then you take the person who's practicing it, and you have to add in their personal ideas. So as difficult as it is to believe. Great Lakes says, I'm open to joining the stream if you want someone to counter Quester a little bit. Absolutely.
Why not?
So
Would say
that was Great Lakes
said that this is bastardized. I 100% agree with her. Modern Odinism seems to love bastardizing things. It will, shall we say, inherit things from all over the place. So, and that's what makes it hard. You haven't got a set criterion for it. But I think it'd be great to have Great Lakes on. She's quite knowledgeable, so by all means.
Yes, Fungi she's another in depth. She has great knowledge in this background. So the link that I just posted is for Great Lakes. You can pop on. Fungi, I can't promise that I can pull you. I probably can't pull you up on screen, but I will be able to hear your voice because my StreamYard is retarded right now. So what I thought we would do, Quester, we've gone back and forth about the crime scene, and this is where we feel we're going to start. Before we start pointing fingers, naming suspects, we are going to discuss the crime scene because, and I think I explained this to you, Quester. I feel the crime scene is what connects it to the suspects that were named in the Franks motion. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been named suspects. It is based on their beliefs, their religion, and then the actual crime scene itself is what points the finger at them. So today, we are going to talk about the crime scene and the indicators required on many levels, whether it's anthropology, whether it is forensics, all of the above. We're going to discuss, what it is that proves that this was a sacrificial crime that involved Norse pagan religion. There she is. Are you there? Great Lakes fungi. Can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry. My my headphone issues.
Yeah.
I'm gonna grab my other earbuds actually really quick, so I'm gonna mute myself and oh, sorry.
You're fine. So we've been going over all of the different aspects of the crime scene. And even though I had said we don't need to go down the list of suspects, there is an element to this that I feel going forward we need. To me, and I think Quester will probably agree, this is the basis of how we can connect this crime to a Norse pagan ritual. And I'm going to be very objective as we go through this series going forward, because I'm not here, we are not here to say that we believe this is what's transpired. We are going to give you the visuals, we're going to give you the elements, we're going to give you the indicators, the definitions, all of the requirements that all of the professional readings that we've gone through, that how they make their decision. We're just going to present it in the most easiest consumable way, and we're going to let you guys decide. So I'm going to post a poll in the chat today, and I will post this same poll every single time we go forward with each episode to see where all of you, if starting out, if you are not convinced that there was an odinist, sacrificial, religious aspect to this crime, I want to see how, once we continue to go through everything, if the feelings change. So
I would say there is a third option.
okay.
You've got not involved. It was a ritual, and the third one is it was staged to look like a ritual. Yeah.
Yes. And with the staging aspect of it, a perpetrator who is trying to disguise a crime scene, I personally feel is only going to be able to do so much, versus somebody who has a very integral knowledge of the religion, and their presence is truly bringing forth a whole entire, how can I explain this? So if you have somebody who is so invested in a religion, and you have a situation like this crime, they're going to take their time, they're going to pre-plan, they're going to show up in advance, stage, set up, they're going to do a casting, which we're going to discuss what castings are, and they're going to follow this through to get the most out of it from the gods. So you can weigh that with somebody who is out there just doing a crime and trying to disguise the crime and stage it to misguide law enforcement. Those are the things that you have to weigh. And I feel like we have so much information that we're going to be able to provide everybody with alternative facts and an open opinion of their own to decipher what they think we're looking at here. And going forward, if there is a retrial, should this be a compelling element of Rick Allen's defense? Or are we just blowing smoke? And I want to remind everybody, especially those who do not believe that Rick Allen is innocent or has been wrongfully convicted or didn't receive a fair trial. Everything that we discuss, all of the information, all came from the state. The defense did not pull this out of a rabbit hat. The defense found and discovered this information in discovery that the state handed over to them, and they took this information and started piecemealing it together because it was spread out over a voluminous amount of discovery with what the defense claims to be intentional burying of information. So this was not the defense's defense initially. This came out of discovery, and it was such a big deal, and there was so many pointing facts to this element of this crime that it could not be ignored. So let me see. Fungi, are you here?
The feedback.
Are you here?
Yeah.
Okay, I want you before we start going
Yes.
into the presentation, and I just want to let both of you know that I have so much uploaded. We're not going to be able to get through everything today. So if all of the work that we've done, I don't share all today, it's coming.
Oh, that's a good thing.
I want to be thorough. I want to be as factual as possible, and I want everybody to walk away from each episode with a better understanding of the Norse pagan religion and the variations of how it can be acclimated to a crime like this. So do you have anything, Fungi, that you want to contribute before we go forward?
Yeah, first of all, are you hearing any feedback from my headphones? Just because I am outside, so I just want to make sure the wind isn't messing anything up.
Nope, you sound amazing.
Hearing feedback.
Oh, you are?
I'm getting it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Then I can go inside, or actually I can go in this car right here. It's my car, I promise. Yeah, so yeah. All right. So I'm in my studio now. All right. The thing I guess I want to say is that I don't really understand when people say that it would have been really unlikely or that ritual killings don't happen, because it's quite literally, it's part of, I guess, the U.S. History. It's happened. It's may not be like explicitly similar to like or tied to like an old religion, but if you think about it, I mean, if like the KKK, they would burn crosses. That's a religious symbol, one, and two, they would dress in certain ways. That's for them that might be a religious garb, and and then they would kill minorities and stuff like that. Or they would attack them, and these are basically rituals. So it's not that much of a stretch of the imagination to say you could that it's just going to change it slightly or in different ways. I mean, it's actually the same sort of similar motives for this kind of group. Although I will say, I really don't know if it's if they're actually, if the Odinist type thing is actually involved, or if it's like Quester said, like maybe a copycat or someone who saw Brad Holder's stuff on Twitter when he was stalking Abby or whatever, and was like, oh yeah, okay, her boyfriend's dad does this, or not Twitter, I'm sorry, Facebook. Her boyfriend's dad has posted these pictures. Well, here, now I'm going to post some of these pictures. I'm going to make the crime scene look like this, and they won't look at me.
Can I just clear something up for the people listening? We've got a couple that are having a few issues with the word ritual. Can I just clarify that we're not talking about personal rituals or things like that? We're talking here about religious ritual, which is totally different to walking round in circles 3 times before you go out the door, etc., etc. These are supposed mythology rituals. Would you agree, Fungi?
I feel like we may have lost her sound because she's still here, but everything went silent. Do you want to talk a little bit about mythology?
Oh, here, is this working now?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
No,
I
you're fine.
exited one thing. I was trying to look at the chat on the other. No, but yeah, I completely agree with Quester. I think it's also about people who have tailored or created their own mythology to tailor to their own beliefs. And I mean, that's kind of how religion has worked throughout history in certain ways. I mean, you tailor it to the environment you're in or the animals that are around you. But instead, this is, you know, it's a bastardization. I can't say it. I think that's just the best way to encapsulate it. It's, they're taking the parts that they like and cherry picking and emphasizing it and putting their own spin on it.
Thanks. Yep, I agree.
I agree too, and that's the hard part about this whole scenario is the cherry picking, and typically the religion is not a violent or criminal affiliated
Oh no,
religion, but it's
it's
been
nature
hijacked.
based.
It is. It's very nature based, and they've blended the two, and that's the elements of this that we're going to get into to try to provide a realistic image of what we're looking at based on the people that we're dealing with in this crime, the victims themselves, and how this crime occurred. And we're not here to say, that we believe that this is what exactly happened or these people were involved. We're going to show you what the elements of the crime are and how it relates to what the defense in the Franks motion implied. So, yes, Shabugs, we need to figure out who is at the pig roast.
Oh, one last thing. If you are interested in learning more about sort of Germanic or Norse pagan kind of like very pivotal moments, I totally recommend Dan Carlin's Hardcore History, Twilight of the Aesir. Fantastic series. It is each episode is several hours long. Fantastic though for going on hikes. That's all.
If you have a moment, could you drop that in the group, the Facebook group, and could you drop it in the chat?
100%. Well, yeah, I'm not sure if it's online anymore. I'll be honest, I have a ripped copy, but it is one of the few podcasts I recommend paying for just because it's such a well done thing.
So Shabugs, yeah. The hanging of the girls, we're going to talk about that. I've been re-listening to the Franks motion again, just to pull out specific details that, I may have overlooked before. So let's get started. We've got a crap ton to go through. And let me pull this off here because I want to see where I'm at. So first and foremost, even though I said we weren't going to discuss suspects, after trying to put all of this together and compiling all of the research that the three of us have tried to compress, there's in order to make this make sense, we're going to talk about this right here. And I feel going forward, it's a huge indicator or a prelude to why this may have happened. If the Norse paganists are involved. If the crime was, and we're going to get into the different elements and reasoning and signatures of the crime. But I feel that this is very important going forward as to why this would have taken place. So on the left-hand side here, we have Brad Holder's arm. And when you look at the Norse symbols, his tattoo that's on his upper bicep matches one of the Norse symbols. So, Quester, do you want to tell everybody what this means? Because I think we talked about it this morning.
Yes, we did. It's a recognized symbol. Essentially, it's declaring the person as a strong and effective warrior for the religion. That's about the shortest way I can put it. It's a tattoo that was used way back when by the Norse, but they would put it on their forehead so that everybody would see it.
Can we just point out how shitty it is? I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
It's so badly done. I'm sorry. It's so badly done.
It is. And I have some images of several of their tattoos, and they are all badly done.
Did he do it himself?
I don't know.
I think he got his kid to do it by the looks of it. But
so he would probably be really pissed off at you for saying that. Oh, so anyway, yeah, so this is like Quester said this morning. It's supposed to indicate that he believes he's a badass warrior. However, he wasn't bad enough or committed enough to put the tattoo on his forehead where it's technically supposed to be in the Norse religion. So over here to the right is a Facebook post that Brad Holder posted on February 5th. And this is the prelude to the why. In my opinion, I think Quester agrees. Fungi, I don't know if I sent this to you or not, but I'm going to read it. On February 5th of 2017 in Logansport, Indiana. Today is a milestone in my life. I feel excited and upset at the same time. I will be stepping down as the Gothi in tribe of Gungnir's path. The gods are pushing me to be a traveling Gothi to help people set up kindreds in Indiana. I feel this is lacking. Patrick Westfall will take over my responsibility as Gothi for tribe of Gungnir's path. I am going to be having lots of meet and greets. It's time, Indiana, for you to quit being a virtual heathen. And that was a screenshot, and I didn't get the rest of it. So let's talk a little bit about the role of a Gunthi.
Hold up one sec. I think the tattoo is actually a calendar.
It could be.
I mean, it could have multiple symbols. That's what I recognized it as at first, but
The problem is that this group of people blends so many elements of the Norse paganism that it's hard to decipher what they believe it is, and that's why the element of this crime is so open for interpretation. And
so what we're dealing with is basically someone who's really, really loves Chinese mythology, gets a Chinese character tattooed on themselves, and it says poopy butt.
Pretty much.
And they don't know.
Yeah. So the role of a gun is it, how do you say it, Quester? Is it Gothai? Gunthai?
I believe
know-
it's pronounced Gothi, but
Gothi.
I'm not sure.
Gothi.
Gothi, yeah. There's Gothi and Gotha, male and female, and they're all part of the Gothar, which is the priesthood.
It's the what?
The priest, like their priesthood, the Gothar. And the male one is a Gothi, and a female one is a Gotha.
So with that title, Brad Holder would have considered himself a priest.
Basically, yeah.
So and this is the background on that. And again, we are not professionals. We are not experts. Well, I'm not. Quester might be. He's just not telling me. So the Old Norse word Gothar is the plural form of Gothi and Gothia. They are the priesthood in Asatru community. Gothar means those who speak the godly language. Gothars are responsible for establishing hofts and temples and maintaining the equipment necessary to conduct. Okay, I have a question, Quester, and I'm sure the audience does too. Is it blot or bloat? Because my research says it's pronounced bloat.
It doesn't really matter. People from different countries pronounce it in different ways. I've always called it blot. Some of my friends call it bloat.
Okay.
But I prefer to stay away from bloat because you're getting towards bloat, which is blood.
Okay. Yeah, I've been kind of kicking that back and forth. Like, how do I say this? So I'm going to call it a blot because I feel like that's in the English language. That's how it's spelled.
May be wrong, but it will keep you away from the word for blood.
Okay. So they conduct blots and other religious services in modern times as the Asatru community struggles to reasset itself on the true religion of the folk. The work of the Garthar is difficult indeed. He or she must also seek out those within our folk, what is that? Worldty, to practice the old ways and to reawaken the ancestral soul of the people. A modern day folkar is supposed to be fearless, a spiritual warrior, and fervent Asatru missionary. They must be as wise as the All-Father, as strong as Asa Thor, and as loving as the Lady Freya. The person who performs the blot is at that place and time a Gothai. However, it is what you do for the folk after the blot which determines whether you are indeed a member of the Gothar, one who has earned the respect of the Asatru community to become a Gothai. One genuinely finds a mentor, a recognized Gothai, and becomes an apprentice. An apprentice Gothai should study books like the Elder Elda and the Havamal daily, learn the ancient myths of the gods and goddesses, and how to unlock the keys to the 9 worlds. They must learn the runes and use them. That is very important. They must also amass the ritual tools necessary for their work. What would those tools be before we go on? Quester and Fungi, do you guys have an opinion about what?
Yeah, you'd have a horn or a goat's horn type thing where you would drink from. There definitely would be a knife involved. Usually there's a blessing bowl. Then you have multiple, different things will also incorporate different aspects of nature. Like you can incorporate moss, you can incorporate water, dirt, fire, that kind of thing.
Yeah. The crime
Quester,
ones are listed on this what you're reading.
so Quester, do you have an opinion about the tools?
It's on the sheet that you've got up on the screen at the moment.
Okay, I'll keep reading. An apprentice Gothite should study. Oh, I've already read that. The most precious possession in the ritual bowl, boli in Old Norse, is symbolized in the shape of the Pithro rune and holds the power of the gods, the luck and fortune, and the will and aspirations of the tribe, and the holy offerings that they make to their gods. Equally important is the oath ring. The Gothai must carry that ring on his wrist to all regular things, where he should conduct the procedures. Before that, he should wash the ring in the blood of a bull he had sacrificed himself. Because Thor blessed the funeral pyre of Baldur with his hammer, and his hammer was used to bless brides, babies, and the folk. A ritual-sized hammer is also a must. The hammer is used in some lot is for the banishing ritual and to bless the feast. The last of the most important implements is the stali, Old Norse for altar. The stali is the focal point of the blot. That's very important. The focal point of the blot and holds all the necessary implements used during the service. A simple camping table would suffice. The kindred banner is also designed to be used as an altar cloth. Of lesser importance is the various ritual items used during various blots, like a ritual drinking horn, a gander, sword, spear, a bringsman. I think that's how you say it. Brissingham, Freya, that's supposed to be Freya's necklace, etc. A Gothite should have ritual attire as well. It is an important part of the personal transformation to prepare for the blot. Often a Gothite will permit his apprentice to perform the rites if the apprentice is ready to take over. That is the correlation between Brad Holder stepping down as the Gothai and allowing Patrick Westfall to take over. That is the nexus that I personally, I don't know how Equestra feels or Fungi feels, but based on the February 5th post, that's the indication that's what's about to transpire. Brad Holder is going to step down as the Gothai and allow Patrick Westfall to take over. We know that Brad Holder was stepping down as Gothai of his tribe and that Patrick Westfall was lined up to replace him. So the interesting thing about this and the interviews that Patrick Westfall did was that Patrick Westfall made it out that he was the authoritarian and that Brad Holder was the wishy-washy. And based on everything that we've been researching, that does not seem to really be true. That's just my opinion. So before I take this down, do either one of you have anything that you want to talk about this?
No, I'm fine.
No, but I guess I would just keep in mind if you are looking at crime scene photos and the placement and stuff, just keep in mind these things would have to they're part of it, specifically that bowl. So just think of where that would be placed, that kind of thing, and just try to find places for that and meaning in that, I guess.
Okay. And I think I think later on as we go through this presentation, I have that diagrammed out. So we're going to go through what I thought we would do today for everybody is we're going to go through the indicators. There is approximately 7 of them that an anthropologist, a forensic expert, a crime scene expert, Dr. Perlmutter, what she testified to, taking all of those factors, and they're all pretty much dead on the same. There are several indicators. I mean, you know, you have to have so many elements of a crime to be able to pinpoint what if the crime is staged, if this is a serial killer, or what's going on. There are indicators, and you can't say it's one thing or another if you only have one of the 7 indicators or 2 of the 7 indicators. And we're going to go indicator by indicator. There's 7 of them, and we're going to discuss each one head on. And then in other episodes, we're going to get more in depth in the crime scene and everything surrounding the crime scene. And Quester, I meant to put this on here and I forgot, but can you state, prior to the girls arriving at the bridge and according to the geo fencing, there were 2 unidentified cell phones that moved into the area of the crime scene. Do you have handy the times? I forgot to pull them in here.
Okay. Hold on a second. I'll look that up. You carry on. I'll look for it.
Okay. So indicator 1, victim positioning. And the elements of indicator 1 is the body, how the body is arranged in a deliberate pose, outstretched arms. These are not my words. These are all based off scholars, professors, and Dr. Perlmutter's testimony. The indicators, that's all discussed everywhere on how you determine if this is a ritualistic ceremony or sacrifice in relation to Norse paganism, neo-Nazi, call it whatever you want. There's so many variations. It's hard to pin down what the religion is that they're actually practicing. But number 1 is the victim positioning. The indicators are how the body is arranged in a deliberate pose, outstretched arms, inverted position, bound, or aligned with objects, symmetry or symbolic orientation towards trees, water, altars, or cardinal directions. And I feel, so on the left-hand side here is the image that Brad Holder had posted on his Facebook page prior to the crimes. This is the photograph that the defense team drove all the way down to Georgia to retrieve from somebody who had saved it off of Brad Holder's Facebook, who had no insight into the crime scene, but felt this person was involved some way, somehow. He was following the Delphi case, came across this. There's the picture. On the right-hand side, of course, is the images that we're familiar with. But I also want to reiterate in looking at the right-hand side photo. We don't know where the perpetrator was standing. Was he standing above the heads of the victims, or was he standing at the feet? And depending on that allocation would determine what he's visualizing and what he's doing as far as staging. So is he looking at the girls from, go ahead.
Personally, I think he's looking the same way that the picture right here is. Because if you think about it, if he's going the other way, he's got the tree in the way. But then we also have that X mark, and I'd imagine someone's next to that X mark, the asterisk, I guess, in the ground where all that blood was.
Okay.
I would agree with that. Everything I see suggests that they would be standing sort of at the feet or further back from the one who was reaching out to the tree.
So the portrait that the perpetrator or perpetrators is, you guys feel that they're standing at the bottom of the crime scene, looking at the bodies to where they're standing near the feet, looking upward.
Yes.
Yeah, I think
a little bit back on.
Yeah, I think it'd be adjacent to that asterisk.
Okay. So number 2, the use of the symbols and the objects. Again, these are not my words. These are all pulled in from different parts of research, scholars, Dr. Perlmutter, other people who have studied these types of crimes. The use of symbols and objects, runes, crosses, pentagrams, circles, or other symbolic patterns drawn in blood, carved or arranged with sticks, stones, or ropes. Placement of ritual tools, knives, chalices, bowls, candles, antlers, and bones. Here, out of all of the items listed above, we have runes on the bodies in the form of sticks. We have a possible rune on the tree in blood. We have antlers on Abby, a rope hanging from a tree. That was a piece of information that went completely over my head. But after going back and rereading the Franks motion, that is listed in the Franks motion, that there was a rope hanging from a tree.
Do we know what color it was?
I believe it was yellow.
All right, that lines up with Veronica's statement, right?
It does. Which is, and the issue with that is that we know that law enforcement used a yellow rope to cordon off where they were walking in order to preserve the crime scene. But why would they go to that extent and then turn around and throw a rope in the middle of the crime scene on a tree? That's a conundrum. I don't understand that. And we will never know unless all of the sealed crime scene photos are released. The altar, which would be the center of casting, sacred area of the ritual location. Halabali, which if you research these, I want to say, if it's not rituals, what is it? If the word ritual is not the right word, what am I looking for?
Diversion, perhaps? I mean, my theory has... Oh, yeah, sorry. My alternative theory has always been someone who was stalking Libby, Abby in Libby, maybe saw a mutual with, and it maybe somehow led to Brad Holder's Facebook, and someone saw that image and said, "Oh, this is the girl, her boyfriend's father. Well, I'm gonna mimic this, make it totally look like it wasn't me, and maybe point to him."
What I mean is, if we're to believe that Norse pagan a Norse pagan ritual happened here. Is the word ritual the right word, or is there another word that we should be using?
Offering, blessing.
Offering. Okay. Offering is a good term. But, and you're going to see later as I cordon off the crime scene image itself, based on where the trees are, based on where the bodies are, based on their placement, both girls, where their place is a V. And at the foot of the crime scene is an area of blood pooling with sticks placed over it, not to cover it, but as a symbol. And I know, Fungi, you have an opinion about that, if you want to explain.
Yeah, I think that's where a blood or a blessing bowl, or the ritual bowl, might have been placed, because what they would typically do is they would drain an animal. So not unlike a hunter would drain a deer these days, they would hoist it, and it would be up from a tree or a raised place, and the blood would drain into this bowl, and then they would incorporate this blood from this bowl into their ritual. And sometimes it could be smattering it around, sometimes it could be, I don't know, just sometimes you could be putting it on other people. It's like it
Well,
really varies from region to region.
well, and in the history of a ceremony or a offering like this, the pool of blood left behind from where, like, from what I gather, this, and Quester, or either one of you, correct me if I'm wrong, this blood pool here at the foot of the crime scene, even if there was a bowl that was present that was then removed, the spillage of blood was made then an offering to the earth. And that is why the sticks in the shape of an asterisk are placed on the spillage. And two, it would indicate that mainly Libby, not Abby, but mainly Libby, would have been inverted for the drainage of blood, which would explain some of the upward, disproportionate flow of blood on her face. And then there's also blood splatter all over Libby that's described in the Frank's motion. And it is typical in an offering like this where someone, the person making the offering, would take a twig or a stick or some sort of a instrument, dip it into the blood, and splatter where they want blood as an offering. And Libby did have, it wasn't drips as far, like, if she was upright, like Cecil claimed that she was, and mobile, we wouldn't have splatter. And there was detailed, like, blood splatter on her legs and her torso. There wasn't a spillage down the front of her as if she was upright and, both of her carotid arteries were cut. You would have had spray, and you would have had spillage down the front of her, which is not present, but you have splatter as if somebody possibly standing at the foot of her with an instrument would have been splattering blood towards her.
Yeah, think of it like when they sprinkle holy water, or I think they use like a, oh geez, like a little, like a wand or something. I haven't been to church in a little while, admittedly. When I was
No,
a
you're
kid,
right.
I know that. Yeah, they do that, so it's very much like that.
So, Quester, do you disagree, or do you have a different opinion?
No, I basically agree. The blood would be used. It would be, as you said, sticks are ideal for it, for using it to do markings, to mark on the folk that are there, the trees, anything like that. The blood is a very important part of the ritual. It's very hard to find a different word for it because it is a ritual within what I suppose you would call a festival.
Mm-hmm.
Even as you said, what they call the largest blood pool, that is part of certain rituals as well, to give it to the land.
Yeah, they give it. They were. It is said that when there's spillage, it is an offering to the earth, and blood is the most valuable offering to the gods.
And just consider for a moment how otherwise clean this crime scene is. How, I mean, parts with Abby's body, I think, are a bit more messy than Libby's in terms of like, or sloppy, I guess, in terms of the staging. But Libby is so clean in some places, and everything's so deliberate, and you just don't have blood everywhere like you might expect. And so, like, you have to consider the fact that the blood is part of that purposeful placement. I just think that's an impossible thing to not consider in this.
Okay, so why we're here, because we're talking about the placements and the runes and antlers, which I do have closer up pictures of that for later. But
Could I just add about the blood, because it is so, we say, valuable. They would have been, if it was this, they would be very careful to avoid spillage, random spillage. They would also be quite willing to clean items to keep everything as pristine as possible.
Well, then I mentioned to Amy that they wouldn't have simply filled up, like, even if they killed them at a different location or possibly drained the bodies. That I know it's morbid to say this, but if the blood was collected at another location, it would not have been carried in this bowl. I do not believe. I believe, because exactly what Quester's saying, it's very precious, considered to them to be very precious. I think it would be carried in a closed container so that it doesn't spill during transport, which would also explain kind of the lack of congealing in this puddle, I guess that you could say, because if it's able to be constantly kind of moved around, then it's not having time to congeal.
Now,
congealing would, of course, be an important point. They'd want the blood as fresh as possible.
Yeah,
and don't they? From what I've read, they in a situation. I mean, and you have to go into the darkest depths of this religion, because they don't want this religion to be portrayed in a violent way. So you have to really dig to find circumstances such as this, or the blood sacrifices, so to speak, of individuals that are not, because normally in this religion, back in history, individuals would volunteer to be sacrificed. And
sometimes
I think that we have enough information to indicate that these runes, the body placements and whatnot, are specific to what the message is and who the target is and their meanings. But also the blood collection, they would take the blood that is confiscated from this crime scene after using what they needed to apply to the message. They would then preserve the blood and use it in another ceremony. Is that right?
They could definitely. Yeah, if they didn't have to. Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay.
One interesting thing regarding blood is that the cutting implement would be the sacrificial knife, and that is never ever thrown away.
And they're never left behind. They're never left behind. The instrument, the cutting tool, in these types of situations, it says they are never left behind. They
That's correct.
become
That's good practice.
It's one of the most,
Tom,
it's like the most valued thing for them ever, because it's, yeah.
Tom wants to know how many people would need to perform the cleansing.
Well, that's the interesting thing. A blot ceremony could be performed by one person.
And that's rare.
Very, yeah.
I've looked at that, and that is very rare because there's different elements, and you have tribes, you have kindreds, and then there's a third. I forget the name of it. I think I have it coming down the pipeline, but it is a very rare thing that you have a solo orchestrator of a blot, because they want to. My understanding is that the more that are there, the more connections and more power they have, because this is a calling upon the gods. A ceremony like this, a ritual like this, an offering like this is a calling upon the gods.
I should quantify where it's only a one person blot. It's almost never a sacrificial blot. That would take more than one person.
Yeah, in my opinion, it's usually they're reusing materials if they're going to be doing something kind of in that vein, or it's much smaller, much smaller scale, like a rabbit, you know.
Yeah.
But I think that. Oh no, I'm sorry.
No, you go.
I think this is. I was telling you this, but I think that there are actually two messages in this staging of the body, and I know that you're going to get into what those could possibly be, but I think that there's a message with the positions of the body, and then a different message with the sticks on top. I think one is sort of like an inward message, that's personal, and then the other one is the message that they're trying to send.
Totally agree. The positioning of the bodies, I believe, was personal messages and personal, should we say, usages, whereas the sticks and so on were more the messages to the gods. Would you agree, Fungi?
Yeah, well, or possibly, yeah, I mean, yeah, because it's a message for anyone else who might recognize what it means too.
Yeah.
Possibly.
To me, I see layers. I see layers of messages. I see symbolism. I see, so a casting is, and there's a prelude to a casting where everything is based with earthly bound feeling and knowledge and nature. So there's a cleansing of the mind, body, and soul for somebody who is going to perform a blot and perform an offering. And and this is just based on the research that I've done. Did someone just? Oh, I thought somebody just popped in. So they do a mental preparation before going into the area or where they're going to perform a blot, and they basically open up their senses, because they want to feel the wind, they want to see and feel the sun, nature, the trees, the ground, the earth. And then they do a casting, and the casting is they are defining the area in which is holy to them, which is symbolic. So it would be in this circumstance, a crime scene. They are, in their minds, without marking the area, they are walking the area in their minds, determining what is going to be where this holy ceremony is going to take place, and it's going to become sacred. And there's numerous different ways to look at it. There's numerous different ways that these individuals can customize these types of ceremonies to fit their beliefs. And that's what is so hard about trying to decipher or understand what we're looking at. And I cannot get past all of the elements of this crime that actually fit the niche of indicators. I mean, I think there's one area in here where I highlight in white that we don't see in this crime, that doesn't fit this Norse pagan religious offering. But an offering and a calling of the gods is for power, it is for acceptance, it's for knowledge. And we're going to get into, as we go further into this series, we're going to get into Odin, what he represents, his life tree. And that's another element of this crime scene, which we can talk about right now because we have this full image up.
Before we go into that, it should also be noted that this isn't just about Odin. The day that they were found was a festival of two. There was Odin's son Vali, and there was also the festival of Frey's wooing of the Gerd, both on that same day. So there were some very important other aspects that had to be taken into account. Whatever they did had to take those into account, as well as it appeared they were appealing to Odin. So it's quite an involved happening. Yeah.
The modern Asatru handbook that I was reading, that is kind of somewhat dispersed in prisons and stuff, states that it is Vali's feast, or Vali's day, or the feast of the family, which I thought that was kind of, it's probably nothing. It's just always very interesting to hear the family.
Yeah, that's actually two separate ones, Fungi. It is Vali's day, who's the god of eternal light, but the feast of the family is about Frey.
I thought it was because it was his son.
He's the son of Odin. Yeah.
Yeah, Vali.
The son of there are February 14th is a day of celebration for the son of Odin, and it's considered a sacrificial day, which would be obviously a prime time for when you have people who are desperately calling upon the gods for whatever reason. And in this case, and I'm speaking hypothetically, in this case, we are talking about an individual who is stepping down of a role and passing the role on to another individual who needs, and what did Odin do? Odin hung himself on the life tree for 9 days for knowledge. He learned how to create the runes, read the runes, the understanding of the runes. So in order for this role to be passed on to another person, that person would need to have the approval and the empowerment of the gods. And doing it on February 14th, which is a celebration day of Odin's son and a sacrificial day, only makes sense. And that is the clean version, in my opinion, of this scenario. And then when you add in the dark elements of this, you're adding in I'm going to feel more empowered by stepping up my game and going above and beyond animal sacrifices. And I want to do human sacrifices. And then we're going to double down on that. And we're going to do this with individuals that we feel are going to send a real message for our cause. And that cause would be someone who is fraternizing outside of the race and also fraternizing with a Norse pagan member, and the knowledge of the who, where, how, and why would come from the son who is dating one of the victims. That's to me, that's how all of this, I feel like they are so embedded in this cultural religion that they've created, but they have no boundaries. They will manipulate and change the rules based on what their needs are in the moment.
Well, something that you
This was,
said with needing the new Gothi was is supposed to display his knowledge, or the shared knowledge that Odin has, like of the runes. Well, that would make sense why they incorporated runes, because he's having to show he understands their usage.
yeah.
And the other thing is the other thing that makes choosing these victims, I guess, so powerful is because they also believe that the emotions associated with the offering, whether that be the loss that the families feel, or the terror that people felt by discovering them, those are very powerful things.
Very much so. This was a day of extreme importance because of the gods that were involved and a new Gothi coming in. So it heightened everything that had to be done. But if you're one of those gung-ho ones, could in your mind, I suppose, justify raising it to a human sacrifice. In doing that, it also gave the opportunity to settle a few other issues.
I agree. And that's why, for everybody in chat who is kind of jumping ahead or wanting more details, all I can say is we're going to get there. But this aspect of the case, this aspect of the Franks motion and the defense for Richard Allen, compiled with the Odinist guards, compiled with Elvis Fields' statements, all of the above. I personally feel the need to go slow and give everybody the opportunity to learn. Just as, I'm not going to lie, Quester and Fungi have researched this way years before this case even came about. They have knowledge. And what I'm doing to add to their expertise is I'm taking the modern day paganism and trying to incorporate it in with the old worldviews. And we're applying all facets that we can to try to explain what one might be thinking to make all of this make sense. So everybody who is wanting more, trust me, this is just part one. Even though this is episode 18, this is just part one of the Odinist theory in this case, and it's quite compelling. And I think that with the understanding that this is a changing hand, this is somewhat the changing hand of a guard, the changing hand of a role in this religion, on top of knowing that, Westfall was wanting to get away from animal sacrifices. This is a very important day. And we have to figure out, first of all, Quester, did you find the times of the unidentified phones that came into the geofence near the crime scene?
I did, yes.
Okay, I have them, but I forgot to pull them in.
Right. The first one, which came up in the FBI cast report 2019, appeared at 12:39, which is 20 to 1 in the afternoon. And it's approximately, sorry?
You said 12:39?
12:39.
Okay.
That's the first phone that they didn't manage to identify whose it was. A minute later, 2 phones registered at AT&T. It would appear that one of them might have been Bree Wilbur's, but the other one is unknown.
So we still have
the next unknown. Sorry?
So we have 12:39, and excluding the possibility of Bree Wilbur's phone. What's the other one? What's the time on that
12:40, a minute later.
Okay, so that's 2 phones, and does it give you a range?
Radius of 60 to 100 yards.
Okay, of the crime scene.
Yeah.
Okay.
The next one they couldn't identify was at 9 minutes past 2.
Okay.
Now, the interesting thing on this one is they reckon that it made a call to Ron Logan.
That phone, the unidentified phone, made a phone call to Ron Logan.
Yeah.
Right.
And 9 minutes past 2.
And where's that? Okay, can you elaborate? Like, where are you getting that information from? Everybody needs receipts.
Yeah. This one apparently clicked on a Wi-Fi location center point, approximately 450 yards away from Ron's. Now, this came from, I can't remember which one it was, but it came from one of the state's experts.
The people are wondering what time this one was. They just
9 minutes past 2.
And
so
we
209.
have 209, and is it? Correct me if I'm wrong. Is it 208 that Ron Logan's phone pings in the area of the bridge? Based on the search
I'd
warrant.
have to check that up. My memory says yes, but I'd have to check it before I could say certainly.
Okay, all eyes
on.
I know. The photographic memory, all eyes is asking which state expert. Do you remember it, or can you point her in the direction?
I'll see if I can find the data.
But really, guys, come on. It seems so obvious when you just. Sorry.
No, you're right. And see, and there's so many aspects and elements to this that I'm a visual person, and typically for me, my retention level is only so deep. But if I sit down and I write it out, I'll retain it. Anything that I write is like embedded in my memory. And all of these things, like going back and forth with you guys through email and messaging and text messages, and I'm compiling all the information, and I'm going and I'm researching. It all just kind of goes into my bucket of information. And I know that when we lay it all out on a what I would really like to do is just have like one whole bedroom in my house dedicated to this case, and a map and a timeline of where everyone was, phones, suspects, people on the trail, and it's just impossible to do.
I can get my cat to give up her spare room. I might want to do that.
Yeah, well, I have another bedroom that I've yet to take over, and I probably am going to have to.
Does it belong to the cats? Sorry.
No, I wake up every morning. So I have my Yorkie sleeps on my pillow above my head, and that is like her demanding spot, and she sleeps right above me on my pillow with her little face and her little chin resting on my shoulder. And every time I move her, she goes right back to the same spot. So I've just given up. And I looked up why she does that, and they said it is comfort, and it's so she has an overview because she thinks that she is on Paw Patrol. She's has visuals of the room to protect me. And I'm like, okay. So I have her on my right shoulder above my head. And then on the left-hand side, I have both my cats. And as long as they stay like from hip level down, Breeze is fine. My Yorkie's fine. But if one of the cats walk up the side of the bed and like want to lay up in the crook of my arm on my left side, she's not having it. She gets up, she stands over top of them, she puts her foot on them, and she does the ass wiggle. Like, you got to go. You can't stay here. You can't snuggle with my mom. So I don't even know.
My cat just has monopolized an entire room. I don't know when that happened. She just did. So I don't argue with her. I don't make the rules. She does. But
Well,
what were you going to tell All Eyes? Oh, I'm sorry.
So I've been digging through looking for this the proofs for the 209 one. I've got so many windows open now that it's all starting to snarl up on me. So what I'm going to have to do is come back on that one. Otherwise, I'm going to freeze up my my computer.
Skill issue.
Yeah, All Eyes was just wanting to know where in let me see. So anywho, the FBI search warrant did claim that I believe it was 209 that Ron Logan was out near the Monon High Bridge. His other two cell phone pings put him in the area of his home or the crime scene. I have to go back and look. But Ron Logan was definitely a factor in all of this. So let's move on. Indicator 3 is blood rituals. Blood collected in a vessel, halabuli, or a blood bowl, which is done by Norse paganism, a chalice in occult rites, blood smeared, sprinkled, or painted on surfaces in deliberate marks. Pulling consistent with ritualistic draining rather than chaotic injury. That is, and I should have underlined that, chaotic injury. As horrific as Libby's injuries are, Her physical appearance is not chaotic. I don't care what the state says. She has blood on her hands, but it is not, I mean, I want you to imagine, and I guess I'm going to have to get graphic. Imagine both of your carotid arteries being cut. And you have, most people, depending on your size, approximately 7 liters of blood in your body that is now released. And you put your hands up to your wounds on your throat. Your hands are going to look and appear as if they were dipped in a bucket of paint. Crimson paint, red paint. Libby's hands has blood on them, but it looks as though they were wiped. Her hands.
Yeah, I also want to.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I also wanted to point out just the differences in the two bodies. I know some people may have seen the crime scene photos. Personally, I have for this purpose of just this research. Very hard to look at, but if you then notice the difference between the two, I guess, position, like the presentations. Libby has no leaves, no, like, basically no twigs, sort of like just random stuff on top of her, whereas Abby does have some leaves on top of her, or it was kind of, to me, just says either that was rushed or it was kind of an afterthought, or definitely the focus was on Libby.
Now, see this, and here we go with the argument, and this is, and we'll get into it later, but probably in another episode. As much as it appears that, in my opinion, as much as it appears that Libby was the target,
well, my opinion is they were both targeted for different reasons. But if I can go back a little bit, you were talking about the carotid arteries, and you said the two of them. Well, there's actually 6 carotid arteries in your neck. Not a lot of people know that because it's not something you think about. Each one has a different purpose. Like one feeds the face, one feeds the brain. The other one, I believe, feeds the outer of the head. So, being graphic, if you were to cut them in the right order, you can control what happens with the head. So therefore, if you now apply that to how the cuts were made, you can start to see method in it, which destroys the idea of random.
mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yeah.
It's somebody who knew butchery.
The butchery, and well, in Libby's case, and the manner of her wounds. You know, to me, this is just my opinion. I am thinking that Libby's wounds were imposed by the front. Those wounds that are vertical, and there's 4/5 of them based on Dr. Kaur's report. And this kind of relays back to Reese Davis's statements that she was cut and then the cut was made, they cut again in the same spot. But that is also a part of this ritual, the way those things are done. But you wouldn't stand behind anyone and attempt to cut their throat and cut vertically in that manner. It would be horizontal. So to me, it would be someone standing in front of her and making those cuts and then taking control of her. So, and when I'm like replaying this crime in this aspect, because I've replayed this crime in different aspects. I've replayed this crime with Rick Allen, with but Dan McCain or David McCain, Daniel Pearson. There's so many reasonable reasons to believe that this crime could have happened multiple different ways. But in this aspect, to me, in a bloodletting or a blood collection or a blood sacrifice, cutting her in that manner vertically up and down, and then taking control of her head and inverting her over to displace the blood into a collection bowl or an area that they felt they were utilizing as an altar would, one, prevent the blood from spilling out across her body down the front of her. Two, it would also explain the angle of the blood, that if she was inverted, and clearly Cecil agrees that at some point Libby was inverted.
Cicero.
I'm sorry, Cicero.
You're good. Right. You're good. I just want to make sure everyone else.
Too much. Cicero claiming that the angle of the blood running up the face, up the nose. If she was inverted, that would explain it. I'm not saying that's what happened. I'm saying when you are looking at this theory and you're trying to put together the pieces and what makes sense, because Libby, with her wounds and the cleanliness of her body, regardless of the blood splatter, not dripping or, pouring of blood down the front of her that should have been there. It is you can't get away from that unless she was inverted and the blood went somewhere.
Well, but her hands, if the person was well versed in butchery, then they could cut so that it doesn't you don't get a fountain. Now, the fact that some of those cuts were cut twice would suggest that either the person didn't know what he was doing and he had to cut again to cut deep enough, or he was purposely cutting the carotids one at a time.
Mm-hmm. But for those listening who have not seen these photos, and again, the photos that have been leaked they're like whitewashed, but you still see. And all I can say is that Libby's neck, imagine eating spaghetti, I guess, or a baby eating spaghetti with no bib, and they're just shoveling it in with both hands, okay? And underneath the neck and right below the neck, where it literally looks as a replacement of a bib, is where you see the red, but it's not thick. It appears to have been wiped. Her neck appears to have been wiped, and her hands appear to have been wiped. Like there was red there, and then someone took a dry cloth and wiped it off, and then it dried. It is not what you would expect with the injuries that she had. And
the number of people associated in this case with family history of owning hog farms is absolutely insane to me. I just want to point that out. I've been trying to pinpoint someone. Impossible. Everyone owns a hog farm in their family.
But we know who didn't. We know who didn't have a hog farm.
And we know a few people that used to work at the local pig slaughtering place as well, don't we?
Yeah, raise your hand, Ron Logan. But we
Keegan
know that
Klein also.
And a few of these Odinists.
Rick Allen is the only one who didn't have experience with any of this that we're aware of.
Yeah.
That's a good point. The Keegan Klein, I thought he worked at a swine farm as well in some capacity.
Yeah, he did. He worked for his mother.
Ooh. Makes you think.
Mm-hmm. So let's see next. This is a good one right here. Okay. Number 4, the staging with natural elements. Again, this is Dr. Perlmutter, other scholars. All of these indicators are very similar on multiple lists of educators who investigate these types of crimes. Number 4, staging with natural elements. Use of wood, branches, antlers, or horns arranged near around the victim. Placement near sacred spaces, trees, groves, water sources, caves. And here it is, the one that I told you about earlier, the one that I can't find any element of that I have written in white: fires, circle of stones, or ash residue. So, bank of the scene of the crime at the water's bend, down here in the left-hand corner. So, water, an offering like this in the woods near a water flowing stream is high on the importance of a ritual like this. It's even more so at the curvature of a river. For whatever reason, they feel that is more significant and more in tune with the gods at the bend of a river. Do you agree, Fungi?
Yeah, I mean, so the in particular, this is not necessarily Norse, but this is kind of the one I look into the most because of where I was born. The old Prussians, they had a word for elbow, which it escapes me the word, but basically it 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 meant bend, and but it also, like, the base word of it was magic. So people in all proto, one thing you got to know is all Proto-Indo-European religions. So basically have basically are kind of different iterations of each other. So there's like a Thor in Slavic mythology. There's a Thor in Baltic mythology. There's a Thor in Germanic mythology. There's a Thor in Celtic mythology. So it's a lot of these things are very much repeated elements. It's just, there's little tiny variation differences. They're not, I guess, sometimes significant, I guess, but there's just based on the environment. Like, some places will not burn their dead; they'll bury them. Other places, because it's too cold, so they can't always bury them. They'll burn them. So it's one of those things that I believe that kind of is universal in Proto-Indo-European culture.
Okay. So next we
Oh,
have
and the word, yeah, and the word bend also stems from the word bend in elbow also stems from the same word that means bend of the river, basically. Sorry, I'm so sorry.
No, don't stop. Don't apologize.
But the other thing with the water is that the day was also, as we said earlier, a commemorative for Frey. And that would involve natural elements, and you try and get all the local whatever nature spirits, such as the water spirits, involved. The water spirits themselves are considered fairly useful. Plus, fresh water is a fresh source of water. It's good for the cleansing. Ideal for it. There are quite a few other requirements, shall I say, for the best blot. Would you like a list of them?
Sure.
Sure. Right. Well, you start off, you'd be looking for a small area, sort of like an amphitheatre, a dip in the ground, preferably surrounded by trees and hills, mountains. Well, you wouldn't get a mountain in an area like that, but hillocks, that sort of thing.
I know just the place, Quester.
Yeah, no.
Oh, it gets better. You'd want it surrounded by the trees and so on. You'd want flowing water by it. Yeah. And of course, it should be a private area. And having the trees there, depending on which trees they are, brings in an awful lot of power. Certain trees are almost imperative to involve. And in that area, just looking at the pictures, you can see there's quite a range of different types of trees, can't you?
There would only be a specific number of ones immediately by the bodies, and I've always wondered what was the tree that Libby was up against. What type of tree was the one that the room was drawn on? Because that's significant. But I think that we can narrow down quite a few species of trees just based on the fact that this was the drainage in this spot, it was prone to flooding, and it was probably pretty poor just because everything drains downward into this depression in the ground. So, he did.
Yeah. If it was
I put that up there just for you. I put that up there just for you, Fungi.
Yeah. Yeah. If it was an ash tree, that would be incredibly important.
Or
there is one other thing. There is one other thing that's present in this crime scene area that is important, and that's being close to a cemetery. What do they get from that? Your ancestor spirits. So they're in an ideal place there for inviting the natural spirits, their ancestor spirits, and the gods that they're looking for. The place is almost built. Yeah, the place is almost built for a blot ceremony. You couldn't get better.
And when you take all of these, these elements, it's profound. It really is profound when you go through this list of indicators, and in pretty much each indicator, we not only have every single thing listed under the indicator, we have more. And that is what's so hard to turn your head away from what this crime scene is telling us.
It'd be one thing if it was just sticks arranged and it was like not in the right place. It'd be another thing if it was just a rune on a tree and without the sticks, without the other stuff. But when you have all these things incorporated, you have someone who has at least a cursory amount of knowledge of how to perform a ritual. Which kind of, blows that earlier theory I had about someone just kind of observing Brad Holder's Facebook and trying to use it as like a, I guess, diversion to direct suspicion away from themselves. I mean, you got to incorporate little tiny details.
Well, and in future episodes, we're gonna get into the body positioning and the meaning and the meanings behind them, and how I think the first angle that we're going to take is probably not going to be the norm based on the information that we've gathered, because I think many people believe that Libby was the target and Abby was an afterthought, and we're going to give you the opportunity to see it in a different perspective and let you guys, decide for yourself. But there's so many aspects to this that it's going to take numerous episodes to go through all of this. And it's really hard to swallow walking away from this theory and going, no, that's a joke. It's not, the Frank's memo is bullshit. Quester, do you agree or do you disagree?
No, I agree. There are aspects of this that even the Franks motion did not touch on. That had it may have pushed it into the realms of you can't let this go by.
Well, and in my opinion only, I will say there's one area of the Franks motion that I disagree with, and that is the voluminous amount of information that they gave about one individual committing this crime and redressing Abby as the victim. I do not believe that Abby was redressed by anyone. I believe that Abby was given the opportunity to dress herself. That is based on the DNA. That is based on the clothes themselves and how they were found on her body, including her shoes, and the way that she was positioned. There's one thing that I agree with the state is that Abby was more than likely held down. Where the positioning of her arms up in that boxer stance with her elbows to her chest and her fists up by her cheeks, to me, indicates she was held down. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong. But we're going to give you all different kinds of variations. They're all going to be similar, but there's going to be aspects and opinions that you guys can run with depending on what you think you see. So back to the slide. We're going to, again, for staging with natural elements, the use of wood, branches, antlers, or horns arranged around the victim, placement near sacred spaces, trees, groves, water sources, caves. The three things that we do not see are fires, circles of stones, or ash residue. So when we talk about horns or antlers, if you look at the image down here below, this is a actual photo taken from one of the leaked crime scene photos, and it's the top of Abby's head. And it's very difficult to say because of the photos being so washed out what we're looking at, but Abby's hair is up in a messy bun, but it does appear to be two individual sticks inserted like push pins in her bun that could represent antlers. I don't know how those sticks would have gotten there unless someone would have placed them there. It doesn't appear that she had rolled around on the ground. I don't see any other indicators around her head that would replicate antlers, horns. Maybe I'm wrong, but this is what I see. Quester or Fungi, what are your opinions? And I know that you've reviewed these images, and when
Well, I'm not convinced by it. As you say, the picture's very washed out, but to me, they seem very small and in the wrong place to be representing antlers. And it strikes me that these people would know exactly where the antlers would come out, not there. And they're a lot larger. What I'm considering it could possibly be is part of the effort to try and make Abby look presentable, tying her bun up, pinning it, and so on. There's only a working theory at the moment.
Okay, but we did have somebody in here who brought up the point that I made earlier today, and that was that Elvis Fields claimed Abby was a pain in the ass. And
Oh, yes.
some of the research that we've done, and that's coming, but I just want to point out, because the comment was made, that the crime scene itself and the display of Abby and the indicators around Abby with the sticks, etc. I think it was you, Quester, who said that this was a message to the gods that she was trouble.
There is a part in there which we haven't got into yet that represents a method of telling the gods this person is trouble. Yes.
So again,
I
go ahead.
I don't think what you're pointing to is actually sticks at all.
Okay.
To me, that's just part of her hair, the shadows, kind of the way that it's, I guess, like that's what it always looked like to me. And I think the sticks that are relevant, or at least one stick that is definitely relevant, is the one that you can see that goes kind of just atop her head, but like over her hair. And for me, the order of the stick, obviously we'll get into this later, probably down the lines somewhere. But the order of the sticks is really important, because you got to think about what was placed first, and therefore what was placed deliberately. And the fact that this stick is above her head makes me feel like this was deliberate. So you can see it like it's actually atop her hair. And it's the one, it's the stick that's right just below the circle that you can see there, and it extends out into like a bit of a Y. Which
Yeah, I
so
see that.
I don't see a second stick that would maybe be an antlers, unless it's it's more camouflaged, or I guess hidden more under some leaves or whatever. But that's definitely a stick that I have felt is really, really noteworthy.
Because it goes across the top of her hair.
Because it's above, yeah. It's
Okay.
something that was in. It's definitely 100% possible that it could have just been a result of they were moving a bunch of other sticks around, or like, because sticks. If you ever go walking in the woods, if you like step on one stick, it's gonna make like three others fly around. Sometimes, and sometimes, you know, from something that's like 10 feet away from you even. But so that's possibly could have happened. But I feel that's another reason, kind of why I mean, with how deliberate and how careful Libby's presentation is, I felt like there were some aspects of Abby's that was sloppy, but I don't think that this is one of them.
And I'll agree with that, because in reviewing the photos, when Quester and I were talking about the horns, in a situation like this, antlers or horns are significant. I see what you're saying, but I could not decipher any type of imagery around her head that would signify antlers or horns other than these two little images on her messy hair bun. So, and if that's shadowing, then it is what it is. And that's why I told Quester when I sent him this photo, I said, I can't be 100% sure, but this is the only thing that I see that's indicative of antlers, or if it's even twigs. I don't know what it is. It's the only thing that I can say that I see that is there, that can't be explained unless it's a shadowing of her bun, which could be. It just, and this is why it's so, I mean, it's not a bloodlust, need for crime scene photos. It's really to help in the future of this case, knowing what we're looking at, what's prevalent, what's was captured on that day. And this having to piecemeal and speculate absolutely sucks. Okay, so up top in this presentation, we have the F tree, which Great Lakes fungi is an absolute gem when it comes to this sort of thing. Both of these images are, well, first of all, Great Lakes, I'm going to ask you to explain the significance of the type of tree when it comes to this type of ritual, and the specific type of tree that Odin is associated with.
Yeah, so we have several different trees that are very important in Germanic, Nordic, Norse mythology. And one is ash. This is not an ash tree. It is plated sort of bark you can kind of see. Um, Another one is an elm tree. This is not an elm tree. They'll also often be called the children of ash and elm, just because they believe that the mythos is that humans were created from two logs, and one of them was an ash log, one of them was an elm log. But the final one that is uh, of great significance is the oak tree. And this is associated with Odin, this is associated with Thor. It's associated specifically with Odin because how they would be the tallest, often the tallest trees in the area. They have a very large footprint, is one thing you gotta know. They have very, like their roots go wide, they don't go deep. Well, I mean, they do go deep, but they grow outward more so. And this means that they're going to be kind of the tallest thing in the general area, which means that lightning is more has a higher tendency to strike. And when a tree gets struck by lightning, and you're in a culture that sees lightning as a very significant event, possibly, you're going to make note of which trees those are. And so that's kind of why the association is. Now, this tree, I am not entirely sure what kind of species of tree this is. Uh, it could be a swamp white oak, which is a tree that is native to the area. It is found in areas that do not drain well, like this floodplain. It tolerates flooding pretty well. But this area right next to the river absolutely would be right on par. And so you can see that Amy has just shared some pictures. It's got this interesting looking bark. The younger they are, the kind of the more plated the bark looks. But on all the branches, this in my opinion is pretty interesting. Is all the branches, they kind of have this peeling off look to them. And we don't necessarily see that on many of or any of the branches. Well, from what we can tell, because it's such a crappy picture, we don't really see that in a ton of the crime scene photos. So that's one thing that this tree could be. Oh yeah,
fungi,
then
really quick.
Yeah.
Let me stop you. So, just real quick to clarify. So, I have a couple of people in the chat who are advocate followers of the case. So, Shabugs is asking that you're being asked a question. So she is asking, don't know shit. So great fungi is saying leaves look like they're covering her body. We've seen the same crime scene photos. We only see leaves around her body and her head. Is she seeing different crime scene photos? I think they're talking.
I don't believe.
Go ahead.
Oh, I don't believe I am. But if you notice so there's a log that goes. There's a log that or a branch, I guess, that goes more horizontal. On the left side of that, where it intersects with the branch that's going vertical on the left, you can see that there are some large orangish leaves kind of underneath that, and that's what makes me think that it's sloppier, because I mean they're atop her hoodie. You can see they're atop the hoodie, and yet they're underneath the branch. And so it's,
So
so it's not a
you are
significant amount.
no okay. So you're talking about so Keith is asking for clarification.
I
He's
think that they're
asking.
accidental.
So Keith is asking. Do you mean on Abby's hair or on her actual body, like to cover her up?
I think that they're just coincidental. They might have been sticking to the branches, and no one bothered to take them off. I mean, after leaves get saturated, they kind of cling to whatever's closest. I'm sure you might have experienced this with your shoes even, but it's just on the left side. I think it's just incidental, but it's sloppy either way. It's different from Libby's. And if you do have these pictures and you can see them, you will see there are two quite large orange round leaves underneath on the left side of the horizontal of the stick that goes horizontal on her body.
And you're talking about Abby, correct?
Yes, I am. I just double checked.
Okay.
Or, I mean,
Okay.
one of them definitely covers her more. One of them's really like one, maybe a quarter on her. But it is significant because it's clearly raised, and so that's what makes me think it's clinging to the stick.
Okay. All right. So continue. So for those in the chat, I have just uploaded. Now these photos that I'm presenting, you've taken from your own property, correct?
These ones that I'm showing you right here are not mine. They're ones I found online because I do not live in a poor drainage area. I live in an area with great drainage with lots of sand. So I was trying yesterday to go find one, but alas, the sand. But yeah, there's one other tree species that I'm kind of starting to lean toward it being the F tree more so than the other species I consider. For a
So
while, I was thinking swamp white oak, but would you like me to explain that, or?
well, so the F tree, have you been able to determine exactly what breed of tree it is? I know that you
No,
put a post
that's what.
out.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm trying to figure it out, and it's between two species, I believe. It's between a swamp white oak and an American sycamore, and I haven't looked into if sycamores have any sort of significance, anything whatsoever. I know an oak would definitely have significance, and there's some evidence that there could be some oaks around, based on the leaves, but I have yet to really look at the sycamore as much, and the leaves I've seen do not match very well, but the bark is so close.
Have you been able to, so we do have the photograph of Patrick Westfall cutting sticks with an electrical saw. And we know
Yeah.
that one of the branches, I believe it's on Abbey, has clean edges. Have you been able to
Oh, yeah.
determine the sticks on Abbey, what their species is?
Oh, impossible based on the pictures. I mean, the only thing I mean, I can't even for sure say that they aren't swamp white oaks because some of them might be older and that bark might have peeled off over time because it looks like a few of them do have that upper layer of bark completely stripped. And, that happens when water oversaturates and, then the wood expands, doesn't, and water gets in there and then slowly comes off.
And I mean, for me, the reason for that importance is the fact that if we've got these unidentified phones moving into the area about approximately 2 hours before the girls even arrive.
Yeah.
Are they there to set up, cast their circle of where this is going to take place? And, you know, all of the elements apply. I mean, they could have, the girls could have been taken and their lives been ended anywhere in those woods. And it just so happens that it's at a plateau near the water in an opening with these various of trees. And we know that the trees are important. They're important, especially when it comes to offering Odin whatever offering that they're preparing to offer, whether it be oak or birch or pine. There's different significance with all of these, but the sticks on Abbey are not, they're not too big to have not been brought into the scene.
Yeah, I would agree. It looks like some of them were definitely naturally split. Um, just natural fractures in the branches. But I think based on the quality of the photo, I think the best bet and direction to go is to just determine, is it, like, just to start kind of with our net cast very wide and say, does this look like do the branching patterns, so like the frequency of the branches and everything like that, the look of the branches, any buds we can see on them, if at all, do they look like they are upland or lowland trees? And now, if they are upland trees, that's significant because this is a lowland area, and it's just very, in lowland trees, they tolerate flooding well. So that means that they're more local. Now, it's possible something could have drifted down, especially after a storm or the snow melt. However, it's, in my opinion, it is significant if we are seeing a clean cut. That's not explainable. That's preparation. And in my opinion, you could have definitely done that there. I have tools like maybe a foot away from me or a couple feet away from me right now, that I could bring with me in the woods wherever I wanted, and I could easily cut any branches I wanted. However, these are either battery powered. They will make a little bit of noise, and it's a noise. But the other option for cutting that you could do possibly, if you're not going to do it beforehand, is you have pruning shears, like very large ones, and these are effective, if they're sharp. But it's still, they're going to be big, and people are going to notice you carrying these pruning shears. Is all I'm thinking.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really hard to, for me, I just can't explain the clean cut. For me, that's just preparation, and that would also point to maybe these sticks may have come from a different place. Which, so to answer your question, no, I have no idea what the species are. I think the best we can get is just trying to cast our net wide and trying to keep narrow in from there. But we don't have good pictures.
So I think maybe what if we go back through all of I can go back through all of the photos that I have, especially of the crime scene that's taped off by crime scene tape, and get those over to you. Maybe you can look through.
Oh yeah.
And zoom in and try to decipher,
It's a great idea.
Could the branches on Abbey have come from that local spot, or did some come from there, or is there one or two that must have been brought in because they don't match any of the species that you can see in the area?
Yeah, we'll do that. Sounds good.
Okay, that's going to be our next task of business. Quester?
Yeah. One thing I would add is, from the preparation point of view, you could walk through a block ceremonial area without even realizing you've done it. Bear in mind that everything you're going to see will be natural, broken off bits of wood all sorts of things like that lying around. A natural area, open area, nothing wrong there at all. Especially with, to use the word that Fungo used earlier, bastardization, which means that they will they can alter things to fit what's available. So they could have prepared this days ahead, and the whole lot, all their stuff lying around, and nobody would have known. They could have walked all over it. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so let me see where are we at. I think this is the last indicator. Wait a minute. No, it's not. We're only on indicator 5. Well, let me back up. Let's get into some.
Oh, by the way, Amy, the fires, circles of stones, or ash residues, you can sort of put a line through them and ignore that.
That's
because,
why I have it. That's why I have it in white, because I don't see any indicators in any of these. I don't see any of these in the indicators.
Well, those can be replaced by candles, which in the modernist way of doing it, replaced by torches. So therefore you wouldn't have a fire, you wouldn't have ash residue, and a circle of stones, not necessary.
Are we talking like the British torch or like the real Indiana Jones torch?
Electric, battery.
Okay, yeah, that's the British torch.
Yeah.
Well, so I think maybe we need to dive into a ceremony like this conducted during. So I know that on February 14th, with it being Odin's son's celebration day and a sacrificial day, and that holiday on February 14th, according to the Norse pagan religion, is supposed to go from sunup to sundown.
Yeah.
So we have a 24-hour period that we need to look at. Would this have occurred in the late night hours or the daytime hours? Simply because knowing that there were searchers out there, we're not going to have torches lit up on the other side of the creek from where searches were. And, you know, I don't think that these people are that gung-ho enough to do this in a situation where they're going to be seen just to follow all of the norms of the religion, because they change the norms, they change the rules, and they modify it to suit, their agenda.
Well, to quote Carter, in plain sight, if you've got searchers out there all with torches, would you notice another one?
Okay, say that again. I didn't catch that.
There were people out there with torches searching. So would you notice another few torches in the distance?
So
you wouldn't take notes of it, would you?
That's a good question. But I mean, you're talking bold MFers to do that. I feel like this sequence of events would have taken a lot of time. But
well, these sort of things wouldn't happen without having some lookouts, would they?
That's true.
Not without some radios to listen in on dispatch.
Yeah.
Okay, so before I go on to the next slide, we might as well get into fungi. Okay. So I don't think I got an answer when I probably did, but I just didn't get to read it. So talking about the trees and the significance of the trees and of the leaves, I'm going to play your slide that you sent. and then I'm going to let you describe what we're looking at, okay?
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, for me, for a second there.
These are the sticks that are on Abby.
So you can see that appears to be an oak leaf, and I think that's significant because of the species. I think it's a swamp white oak leaf, so that's why I'm leaning. I was leaning toward that originally, but now I just don't know, and I don't know if there's any maybe nearby where it could have fallen. It's given how it's kind of clinging to that branch. Oh, I'm sorry.
If it fell, it was a fairly good shot to land smack in the middle of the asterisk, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think in that time of year you don't have them falling. So I think what happened was it's clinging to the stick. It was saturated, and it clinged to the stick and it's stuck there. But it's another sign of sloppiness or possibly deliberate. But I tend to think it's just sloppiness. I mean, you don't see this on Libby's.
No, I can't see any other oak leaves around it either.
Yeah, yeah.
Can you?
And
So for the chat, can you explain the significance of the oak leaf?
It's just oak trees. They're just significant because they're associated with Odin, associated with Thor. They're associated, with the gods because one of the reasons is because the lightning strikes, and that's coming from the heavens, and it's powerful, and sometimes it can even create fire, and it's the kind of a culmination of just being associated with this, and someone who's the person whoever's doing this, they don't have a at least I don't believe so. They don't have a PhD in Nordic Germanic mythology, Norse pagan religions. They're just reading stuff. So they're basically like, oh, yep, this tree, check, oak, Odin. If this is purposeful, which I don't really lean toward. I lean toward it being coincidental, but it is significant if there are no oak trees around. Because maybe the stick was taken from somewhere else.
Okay.
Well, the other thing that interests me is that, as you explained, the oak leaf is linked to Odin. But those sticks are arranged in the asterisk, which is the Hegel, which is also known as Hail Odin, isn't it?
Well, it's also known as the Mother Rune, and it symbolizes birth and death.
Yeah.
Okay, so we tried to compare. Let's see here. We've been talking, like everybody else has, about the F tree. The symbolism that we're seeing here on the tree. And the state wanted us to believe that it was a handprint. So Great Lakes
I think
found
Quester
out-
actually did a pretty compelling sort of presentation that you sent me. That was the first time I was ever able to kind of like consider it and see it. If that was the actual print, unfortunately, it was a kind of different rendition of it.
Yeah, I can pull those in. So
Yeah, no, those are good.
give me 1 second. I can pull those in.
Like that's great work, Quester. Like I never saw it like that. That impressive. Oh shoot, howdy, my earbuds are weird.
No, we're quiet. So
No,
Sweet Dude
yeah.
is asking, are these ash trees?
I
I'm assuming he's asking about where the image is on the tree. Is that an ash tree, or what is your take on those?
don't believe they're ash trees.
Hold on, I'm going to pull in these images. This is the dilemma of having multiple chat threads, and I try to save everything as we go, but I'm not always proficient, so I apologize. So we've been talking about the image on the F tree, and is it a handprint? Is it an actual drawing? And I think everybody has different opinions. So hang on, let me pull these in. So before I play your image work, Fungi, what is your take on the video image that you sent me? Did I lose her? May have lost her. Hold on. Hold on, guys. I'm trying to pull these in. I've got to go back and pull them up.
In the chat, Skinny was basically saying, would these people really be able to recognise the trees? Well, the straight answer to that is the Gothy certainly should be able to. It's part of his knowledge. He would have to know them to know which one's for Odin and so on. So yeah, the Gothy or Gotha would have to recognise the bark. They'd have to be able to.
Did we lose Fungi?
I can't hear her.
Hold on. Oh, we lost her, but now she's back.
Yeah, sorry about that. I hit a bad button because I do that. Yeah, so
Right.
what was
I've
I?
got
Were
one.
these ash trees? I do not believe so. I was looking up
Fungi's saying she's
picture.
backstage.
Okay, I've got her. Now I'm going to pull up this image that she's talking about that you did when we were talking about, are we dealing with a rune, a splatter, or a handprint? Here's one of them.
Y'all see this because this is super compelling. Where did you get this image, Quester?
That I've got to think where I got it from. To be honest, I can't remember. I'll have to look it up. But that is an image of each spot dot, obviously.
To me,
And
ultimately, it wasn't super accurate, but
yeah.
Hold on, there's another one. I'm going to pull it in. So what is the consensus between, well, I have my opinion. So Quester, you go first based on the video that I sent you of the hand replication,
Right. Well,
which we're going to play.
I start from the position that, to my knowledge, there is no rune shaped like the Arabic F.
Okay.
The closest there is the Fe, which is drawn there. And as you can see, it bears no resemblance whatsoever to it.
Okay.
I do not believe that.
Sorry,
So
Quester, well, real quick, Quester. So, in your opinion, this, for what, number one, do you believe or disbelieve that this was hand drawn?
I believe it was handmade.
I don't mean
Um,
handmade in that sense. I meant as in somebody intentionally made the image. Regardless of what the image shows, do you believe that it was intentionally made or do you believe it was not?
but if I start with the spots, you could not wipe a spot. You would have to splatter it. Or if you tried to use your finger to do it, you'd smear it. And that picture does not align with, say, an artist doing something. So in my mind,
Okay.
that writes off straight away anybody dipping their finger in blood and scrawling anything.
I don't think
It's
that
there.
the picture that you used really depicts it very well. Is matches what's actually on the tree. Like I understand why you use it. I just don't. I guess I didn't see it. But I really thought that if it were to have matched what was on the tree, this what Amy's showing right now would have been really, really compelling, and it was really compelling to me. But yeah, you're right. If you would have splattered on the tree, it wouldn't have been able to. It would have smeared a little bit. You would have been able to drag a little bit, but then it would have stopped almost immediately, which means you're gonna have to have multiple spots start and stop.
Yeah.
Okay.
It
So
struck me as more as it was placed there as the drawing shows. Perhaps somebody leaning against a tree or something like that.
well, with this image right here, we can tell that and that would all have to determine on the blood. I mean, the blood on her hand and it accumulating at a certain in a certain area, like her index finger through down through her palm up to her thumb, which would accurately depict somebody reaching for their throat.
Yeah.
That's where the blood would accumulate. However, there's when you look at the crime scene as a whole, how would she have gone from there and there not be a massive pool of blood, a massive pool splattered everywhere else on the tree? Because when you try to decipher what's happened here in this crime scene, someone Abby or I'm sorry, Libby would have had to have been standing up. And I don't believe that once she was cut, she would have been standing up. Say, let me pull this back up. And this is just my opinion. And I might be playing devil's advocate here. But in this picture right here, hold on. In this picture right here, I don't see how she would have been if if the F tree, and I only call it the F tree because that it's a known location in the crime scene. But this tree, if this was the original injury, I would have felt that there would have been way more blood on this tree. If she used this tree for support and she had been cut, and we know that there was blood on the other side of this tree.
Oh, I didn't
And
know
if
that.
you, yeah, there was blood on the opposite side of this tree. I believe I'm almost positive it was this tree on the back side of this tree. And if she would have used this tree as support, this would have been initially the area of where her first injury occurred. This is my opinion only. And when when those arteries are cut or a artery is cut, grasping for the tree, we wouldn't have had a distinctive mark. We would have had a splatter because the artery would have projected blood. It would have been spilling and
Yeah.
squirting forward. There would have been more blood on that tree. And then let's pretend
Well, there would have been more of a spray on the ground too. I mean, if it was right over there, which because my devil's advocate situation here is maybe she was cut, maybe she was held upright, and then she used a hand to lean herself up against the tree as her heart's pumping got a lot slower and weaker, and so therefore wouldn't have been, I guess, traveling as far out of her.
And the only thing, so we're lacking that. We're lacking that evidence as far as if this was the initial injury to her. And then she would have what? She would have stumbled and fallen down, maybe face first, and caused this large pool of blood down here at the bottom.
I just think that the initial spray would have been too much.
Yeah, I may be getting confused here. Wasn't Libby the one who was cut from behind?
I don't know how Libby could have been cut from behind vertically the way that she was cut. I mean, imagine, just put yourself in the only way that I can explain it is put yourself in a killer's shoes, and you are going to cut someone's throat. Are you going to cut them? Are you going to grab them from behind and then reach forward and vertically slice them from top to bottom in multiple locations?
That works with horizontal, just not vertical.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's horizontal. So I'm hypothetically playing out the crime scene in my mind, knowing that this tree is significant because I do believe that there is blood on the backside of this F tree, as if the injury initially occurred when she may have been approaching this tree or behind this tree. She then turned and leaned, and this tree became her support system. When the artery would have been cut, it would have splurted. She would have had arterial spray, which is not prevalent on that tree. So hypothetically, guys, just bear with me. I'm not a blood expert. I'm not a crime scene forensic analysis reenactment. I'm just walking through this in my mind like I do every single night when I lay down, trying to reenact this crime and how to make it make sense. But
bear in mind, as I said earlier, if you've got butchery knowledge and knowledge of blood in the, for instance, pigs, you'd know how to cut it so that there's not great spurts. And I'm not a butcher, but I would imagine that would involve more than one cut.
And that's probably accurate, but someone with that knowledge would still not be doing it from behind. They wouldn't, like, if someone is trying to drain a deer after a kill, I don't believe that they do it from behind. They do it forward, lifting up the head and cutting, which obviously I highly doubt that Libby's head was lifted. What I'm saying is that I feel the injuries
Lifting up the head would be easier from behind.
I'm sorry?
Hand under the chin and up.
But wouldn't no, sorry.
No, Quester, I didn't hear what you said.
I said lifting the head would probably be easier from behind because you could put your hand under the chin.
But not have the direction of the slice, though, is the difference.
Yeah, the direction. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The direction of the slice is the difference. And
the other thing that I remember Dr. Perlmutter saying was it looked like more than one person had done it.
And I mean, that I don't know. And I guess I'm having a hard time separating the elements of the crime
Yeah.
versus the Frank's motion versus what came out at trial. And when we're talking about a perpetrator who is supposed to be nervous, scared, hurried because he saw a van when he really didn't see a van when they claimed he saw a van. um this is too particular to me that and there to me there's like again I've raised two teenage girls who are now grown adults, and I know for a fact in a situation like this there would be hysteria, absolute hysteria, fear, screaming, the need to get away. And there's no way one person could contain this environment. No way. I will die on that hill because it's impossible to me, especially in broad daylight when there are people within less than 50 yards away. And if we're going by the state's theory and the state's expert, and this is a handprint on this tree. Whoops, sorry. The injury occurred before Libby reached this tree, which means they would have been coming from the top of the ravine behind this tree, or the top of the ravine, coming down towards the water's edge. And if this injury occurred there and this tree became her support system, this is theory number one. We would have seen a lot more blood splatter, spray, or this would be where the largest blood pool would have occurred, at the base of this tree. Then she was supposed to have been upright, on her feet, moving, and then at some point dropped to a sitting position and fell forward. So we're supposed to believe that from this tree, she moved down, fell to a sitting position, dropped. Okay, so that would be realistic with this larger blood pool. And then at some point she was dragged and moved into this position up here where her left arm is extended touching the tree. That makes sense if that's all that we were dealing with. However, if we backtrack and we look at it from this theory, and since we only have on the tree what we see minus all of the excess blood splatter that should have been there, and we have this blood pool near the tree, let's pretend that this down here, this largest blood pool, was an area where an altar was, and the collection bowl of the blood was picked up, walked up here by the tree, and some sort of utensil was used to draw this image on the tree. And while they're standing there, there's spillage from the bowl to the base of the tree. Does that make sense? It is super frustrating how much information we don't know, and we have to speculate and we have to draw our own conclusions. So it's kind of, to me, a process of elimination, and it's also a process of confirmation. What is real? what is factual, what's possible, and what is completely absurd. So that's all I have to say about that. So I'm going to play for you Great Lakes Fungi's video of her trying to replicate the image of a hand print being on a tree. And I'm going to let both of them comment, and then we're going to let you go for the day. So here we go. Maybe. Hold on.
JK, guys.
I guess I can't. Wait a minute.
We got one of them.
No, that's not the one that I. Okay, really quick. Can you send it to my email
Yeah.
so I don't have to go searching again?
Yeah, one second.
I'm sorry.
You're good. I'm sending the link to you because it's going to be too big to attach.
Where are you sending it?
I'll be sending it to your email. I have to find it.
Oh my goodness. Chat is going crazy. I can't even keep up.
Oh shit! What did
Hard
I
to read,
say?
isn't it? Going so fast.
Did you send
Just did. There you
it?
go. Yep, just did. Sorry about that.
Okay. No, don't say sorry. It's me. I thought I had everything in here, but there's so much.
Well, I made it last night and I already lost it. Like, I forgot where it was, so that's why I was saying that.
Yeah, and I'm sorry. I fell asleep in the middle of our conversation.
You needed it. You needed
But I
sleep.
got your email.
I
Oh
swear
my
to God.
God. Your email was the best. The absolute best.
It was chicken pictures, guys. It was chicken pictures.
Yeah. It was. Holy shiznit. Let me see. Okay. Hopefully this will pull in. There we go. All right, guys. So everybody get your phone out, get your screen record out, be prepared, and screen record this and then tell us what you think. Because this is really
I can
good work.
post it on my Twitter too.
Okay.
I'll post it on Facebook and my Twitter after this if you want. This is just me fooling around with trying to make this
So
thing
after
fit
you've
like
watched
Buster did.
this After you've watched this, you and Quester, what are your takeaways from this? What do you think? Like, I'm having a hard time seeing how this handprint makes that impression. Maybe I'm retard. Oh, right there.
Yeah, that's what. Maybe. Quester, do you want to go first, or would you like me to answer?
No, you go first. It's fine. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess my thought process was there. If we're thinking about, if we're trying to come from a place is let's just prove that this is a rune. I'm thinking, all right, runes are hard angles. They're sharp angles, and hard angles, and they're straight lines. So I tried to identify as many as I possibly could in like sort of like areas. And I did send Amy another picture where you can kind of see where I kind of identified little places where it looked like there was like a stroke. And just like Quester said, they did not go far, and someone clearly needed to. If this is correct, it looked like someone needed to constantly be dipping their
That's
finger
where
back
I
into it.
see it could be.
Yeah, and so I guess that's just something to keep in mind when you're looking at this is just the hard angles. What could possibly look deliberate, and what action would the fingers be pulling and dragging in these minute but kind of separate directions, I guess is what I want to say. Just because there clearly are a few places where it looked like it did drag a little bit. So yeah, I have no idea if this is a rune still. But I tried. I really wanted to be like Quester. I really wanted to get the hand tool line.
But I mean, this gives us the most accurate envisioning of a handprint. And then you have to I guess we'll never know Libby's handprint size
You could
from
figure that
her
out.
middle finger. Yeah, but
We know. So actually, the size. So I did send you a picture just before this started, and it was showing kind of the relative size of this print. Which at trial they said it was roughly 5 inches tall and 1.37 inches wide, or as far as like the parts of the street. So it was small. Um, but I did show that. So it's about as tall as an iPhone 13 mini and about as wide, like the main
yeah,
like downward swipe is about as wide as a USB stick. So just to help give some uh, context for anyone who wants to try and picture how big this was.
and I have that photo. I downloaded it, and I'll probably have to upload it in next
Yeah,
week's live.
I cut it kind of close.
Jesus. No, I mean, we've been cutting it close because we've been working. I feel like we've been working nonstop, and we have so much to go forward with. But this is Quester. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, my thoughts are start with the bark on the tree. That's so rough. You'd be very hard pushed to draw anything on it, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Whatever you drew would just be lumps.
That's a good point. It's plated.
Yeah. And what looks like a long straight line up, when you really examine it, is not. The top left corner is more greenish than red, isn't it? Which I would say is shadow.
I didn't know if that was lichen, or I didn't know if that was possibly a part of the smear a little bit.
Lichen, it could very well be, yeah.
That's what took me so long when I was making this for you, Amy. I was like, oh shit, what the fuck is this? Oh, there's my F-bomb. Sorry.
No, I mean that's what we're doing is we are trying to objectively discuss this area of the crime and figure
But
out.
if I was trying to paint something on a tree, I'd have used a lot more paint than that to ensure that it did come out. Otherwise, what's the point of putting it on?
Fuck it. I'm gonna paint some trees next couple days for you guys. We'll just see. I'll see if I can find some good trees.
that
They can't stop me. They won't even know where I am. I'll wear a ghillie suit.
you don't
The whole idea of
know
putting the moon
what
on there is for it to be seen clearly.
was if there was a utensil used, we don't know what was used. If it was a
Those finger, definitely finger. These are
stick,
fingertips.
Yeah, it's highly unlikely they bought an artist brush with them.
all right,
Anything,
so
so a
let's
finger's
go
more than likely.
to
Yeah, sorry, I'm not saying it's for sure a finger. Just it's what it looked like. Nothing I say is assured. Even if I say it, I'm sure. I'm not sure.
Yeah. I don't think a stick would have done much
no,
there.
it
So
can be. Okay. Hold on a second. Okay, so we've been on here for about 3.5 hours. I'm gonna go to the poll results.
My chickens have no idea I'm in the car and I'm about to scare the shit out of them.
Oops.
Sorry.
Yeah, my whole bunch of
The
good
dogs,
stuff going on here.
the dogs objected to that. They don't want me to scare
So
my chickens now.
75, yeah. So 75% of the people watching today think this was a pagan ritual. And we'll see as we go further into the series if everybody continues to agree or if that number drops. So we are going to let you all go. I'm going to, Quester, thank you. Great Lakes of Fungi, thank you. And next week, we're going to get into a lot more of the crime scene. We're going to get into a lot of the body positions, the sticks, the meanings behind them, and what could possibly be the message. Quester, do you have any last words?
no, I think we just wait for the next one and put them in there.
Okay. How about you,
Amy, do
Great
you
Lake?
mind if I? Yeah, do you mind if I just read out this comment because this is pretty amazing?
No, go ahead.
One sec. I need to flip back. If someone baked me a shit pie and told me it was chocolate, I hope I would recognize it. I would at least sniff it. I don't understand the context, but it took my you got my attention. I would also do the same. Thank you. All right. I see you're speechless. All right. Amy, if you're talking, your mic's not on.
Yes, I was muted. I'm sorry. I muted myself because my
Oh,
dog was
thank God it wasn't just me.
no, I muted myself because Jack, stop it. So I want to thank everybody for being here. I'm going to do a Q&A on the community page, and Quester and Great Lakes. Hopefully you both make yourself available to come on and stop it, Jax. Sorry, guys. To answer questions about today's episode. And we'll be back next week with more of the complexities of this religion, this offering, and I don't know how the defense can use this in the future in a retrial. Thank you, guys. Have a good night. Bye.
Where's Johnny? Hi, birds.